I was on a camping trip with my friends in the Amazon rainforest. We wanted to explore the wildlife and nature of this vast and mysterious place. We had a guide who knew the area well and warned us not to wander off the trail or get separated from the group. One day, we decided to go for a hike deeper into the jungle. We packed some food, water, and a flashlight, and followed our guide. He showed us some amazing sights, like colorful birds, exotic plants, and even a waterfall. We were having a great time, until I realized that I had left my camera behind at our last stop. I told my friends that I would go back and get it, and that I would catch up with them soon. They agreed, but told me to hurry up and be careful. I nodded and ran back the way we came. I found my camera lying on a rock near the waterfall. I picked it up and checked if it was still working. It was fine, so I decided to take a few more pictures of the scenery. I was so absorbed in my photography that I didn't notice how much time had passed. When I looked at my watch, I saw that it was already getting dark. I panicked and realized that I had to find my friends quickly. I turned on my flashlight and ran back to the trail. But as I ran, I noticed that something was wrong. The trail looked different from before. There were more trees, vines, and bushes blocking the way. I couldn't see any signs of my friends or the guide. I tried to calm myself and think rationally. Maybe I had taken a wrong turn somewhere. Maybe I could still find the right path if I followed the sound of the waterfall. I listened carefully, but all I could hear was the rustling of leaves, the chirping of insects, and the howling of animals. I was lost. I started to panic again. I didn't know what to do. I had no idea where I was, or how to get back to the campsite. I had no phone, no map, no compass, no GPS. I was alone in the dark, in the middle of the jungle, surrounded by unknown dangers. I decided to keep moving, hoping to find a way out. I walked for what seemed like hours, but I only got deeper and deeper into the jungle. I saw no signs of civilization, no lights, no roads, no people. I only saw more and more trees, vines, and bushes. And more animals. I heard them before I saw them. The growls, the roars, the hisses, the screeches. They came from all directions, from behind the trees, from above the branches, from under the leaves. They sounded hungry, angry, and curious. I saw them too. The eyes, the teeth, the claws, the scales. They glowed in the dark, reflecting my flashlight. They were big, small, furry, slimy, and scary. They were jaguars, snakes, spiders, bats, and more. They were watching me. I felt like prey. I ran. I ran as fast as I could, dodging the obstacles, avoiding the traps, escaping the predators. I ran until I was out of breath, until my legs gave out, until I tripped and fell. I landed on something soft and wet. I looked down and saw that it was a pile of leaves. I felt a sharp pain in my arm. I looked at it and saw that it was bleeding. I had cut myself on a branch. I tried to get up, but I couldn't. I was too tired, too weak, too scared. I lay there, helpless and hopeless. I heard them coming closer. The growls, the roars, the hisses, the screeches. They were louder, faster, angrier. I saw them coming closer. The eyes, the teeth, the claws, the scales. They were bigger, brighter, sharper. They were ready to attack. I screamed. I screamed as loud as I could, hoping that someone would hear me, hoping that someone would help me, hoping that someone would save me. And then I heard a miracle. I heard a voice. A human voice. It was my friend. He had heard my scream and followed the sound. He had a gun and a flashlight. He had come to rescue me. He shouted my name and fired his gun. He scared away the animals and cleared a path. He reached me and lifted me up. He bandaged my wound and carried me back. He saved me. He saved my life. I was not alone. I was not doomed. I was not dead. I was alive. The end. I was on a camping trip with my friends in the Amazon rainforest. We had planned to stay for a week, exploring the wildlife and enjoying the nature. We had a guide who knew the area well and warned us not to wander off the trails. One day, I decided to go for a walk by myself. I wanted some time alone, away from the noise and chatter of my friends. I told them I would be back soon and grabbed a backpack with some water and snacks. I followed a trail that looked promising, hoping to see some exotic birds or animals. I walked for about an hour, admiring the lush greenery and the sounds of the jungle. I saw a few monkeys, a toucan, and a colorful snake. I felt a sense of wonder and adventure. I decided to go a little further, thinking I could still find my way back. That was a big mistake. I soon realized that I had lost track of the trail. I looked around, but everything looked the same. I tried to retrace my steps, but I only got more confused. I started to panic. I checked my phone, but there was no signal. I had no map, no compass, no GPS. I was alone and lost in the jungle. I tried to calm myself down. I thought maybe if I climbed a tree, I could see the trail or the campsite. I found a tall tree with thick branches and started to climb. It was harder than it looked. The bark was rough and slippery, and the branches were covered with thorns and insects. I got scratched and bitten, but I kept going. I reached the top of the tree and looked around. I hoped to see a sign of civilization, a road, a river, a fire, anything. But all I saw was more jungle. Endless green. No trace of humans. I felt a surge of despair. How was I going to get out of here? I heard a loud roar from below. I looked down and saw a huge jaguar staring at me. It had spotted me and was ready to attack. It had black fur with yellow spots, and its eyes were yellow and fierce. It bared its teeth and growled. I felt a chill of fear. I was trapped in the tree, with no way to escape. The jaguar jumped and clawed at the trunk, trying to reach me. It was too big to climb, but it was strong and persistent. It scratched and bit the bark, making it shake. I held on tight, hoping it would give up. But it didn't. It kept trying, getting closer and closer. I looked around, desperate for a weapon. I saw a broken branch on the ground, but it was too far away. I saw a coconut on a nearby branch, but it was too small. I saw nothing else. I was defenseless. I screamed for help, but no one heard me. I was too far away from the campsite, and the jungle was too loud. I was alone and doomed. The jaguar made one final leap and reached the branch I was on. It snapped it with its powerful jaws, making me fall. I fell to the ground, landing on my back. I felt a sharp pain in my spine. I couldn't move. I was paralyzed. The jaguar landed on top of me, pinning me down. It looked at me with a triumphant grin. It licked its lips and opened its mouth. It bit my neck, but it didn't tear my flesh. It stopped and let go. It looked confused and scared. It sniffed the air and growled. I heard a gunshot. I saw a flash of light. I saw blood spurt from the jaguar's head. It collapsed on the ground dead. I saw a man running towards me. He had a rifle in his hands. He was wearing a khaki shirt and pants. He had a beard and a hat. He was our guide. He reached me and checked my pulse. He saw the bite mark on my neck. He took out a syringe and injected me with something. He said it was an antidote for the jaguar's venom. He said I was lucky to be alive. He said he heard my scream and followed the sound. He said he was sorry for being late. He lifted me up and carried me to his jeep. He drove me to the nearest hospital. He called my friends and told them what happened. He stayed with me until they arrived. He said I would recover soon. He said I was brave and strong. He said I had a great story to tell. He smiled and hugged me. I thanked him and smiled back. I survived. I was on a research expedition in the Congo rainforest. We were studying the biodiversity and ecology of the region. We had a camp near a river, where we had tents, equipment, and supplies. We had a team of scientists, assistants, and local guides. One night, I woke up to a strange noise. It sounded like a low rumble, followed by a loud splash. I got out of my tent and grabbed a flashlight. I walked towards the river, curious to see what it was. I thought maybe it was a hippo, a crocodile, or a fish. I reached the riverbank and shone my flashlight on the water. I saw nothing. The water was calm and dark. I wondered if I had imagined the noise. I turned around to go back to my tent. That's when I saw it. It was a huge snake. It was coiled around a tree, staring at me. It had scales that shimmered in the moonlight. It had eyes that glowed red. It had fangs that dripped venom. It was a black mamba, the most deadly snake in Africa. It hissed and lunged at me. I dodged and ran. I ran as fast as I could, back to the camp. I screamed for help, hoping someone would hear me. But the snake was faster. It slithered behind me, closing the gap. It struck again and again, missing me by inches. I reached the camp and looked for a weapon. I saw a machete, a rifle, a flare gun. I grabbed the flare gun and aimed at the snake. I pulled the trigger and fired. A bright red flare shot out and hit the snake. It burst into flames, setting the tree on fire. The snake writhed and shrieked. It fell to the ground dead. I breathed a sigh of relief. I had killed the snake. I had survived. I heard a clap. I turned and saw my teammates. They had heard the commotion and came out of their tents. They saw the snake, the fire, and the flare gun. They looked at me with awe and admiration. They cheered and congratulated me. They said I was a hero. They said I had saved the camp. They said I had a great story to tell. They smiled and hugged me. I thanked them and smiled back. I survived.